How God and science work together to end confusion. On a crisp autumn morning, Sarah sat in her favorite coffee shop, staring blankly at her laptop screen. The cursor blinked back at her like a taunt. Her life seemed to be stuck in a loop of indecision. A million questions swirled in her mind. Should she leave her corporate job to pursue her passion for writing? Was it foolish to step into the unknown? What if she failed? Her logical mind battled her heart, and the noise in her head was deafening. She felt trapped, unable to make a choice, and the constant overthinking was draining her spirit. It wasn't that Sarah lacked faith. She had grown up in church, believing in God's guidance. But in moments like these, her faith seemed distant. How could she be sure that God was truly leading her? Could she trust her instincts, or was her fear clouding her judgment? She looked out the window, watching the world bustle by, when her phone buzzed. It was a message from her friend and mentor, Emily. "Join me for a walk. I have something to share." Curiosity stirred, Sarah agreed, hoping for a distraction from her mental chaos. Later that afternoon, Sarah met Emily at the park. Emily greeted her with a warm smile, but Sarah could see something deeper in her friend's eyes. A quiet confidence, a peace that Sarah desperately longed for. As they walked along the tree-lined path, Sarah poured out her heart. "I feel so confused, Emily. I've prayed, I've journaled, I've talked to everyone I trust, but nothing makes sense. How do I know what's right?" Emily listened patiently, nodding as Sarah spoke. When she finished, Emily took a deep breath. "I've been where you are, Sarah, and I've learned something powerful. God's wisdom and scientific understanding aren't opposites. They work together to bring clarity." Sarah tilted her head. "Science and God, I'm not sure I follow." Emily smiled. "Let me explain with a story of my own." Emily shared how, years ago, she had faced a similar crossroad. She had been working as a nurse, but felt called to start a nonprofit for underprivileged children. The decision terrified her. She wasn't sure she had the skills, the funding, or even the faith to pull it off. In her search for answers, she stumbled upon a concept in neuroscience called decision fatigue. Emily explained that when we're overwhelmed with too many choices, our brains become exhausted, making it harder to think clearly. She realized she was trying to solve everything in her own strength, carrying the weight of every possibility. That's when Emily turned to both science and her faith. She learned to take small, intentional steps that aligned with her values, allowing her brain to focus instead of spiraling into confusion. And through prayer, she asked God for wisdom, not expecting an instant answer, but trusting that His guidance would come in time. One evening, while reading the Bible, she came across Proverbs 3:5-6. "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." "Sarah," Emily said, pausing on the path, "that verse changed everything for me. It reminded me that God's guidance often comes through the clarity we gain when we trust Him fully, and that includes trusting the minds He gave us." I began to pray, take small steps forward, and let go of the pressure to have all the answers at once. Sarah's eyes glistened with tears. "So, what happened? Did it work?" Emily smiled. "Not only did it work, but it taught me to live with confidence, even in uncertainty. The nonprofit became my calling, and every step I took, guided by both faith and science, brought me closer to where I needed to be." That evening, Sarah went home feeling lighter. She sat down with her journal and wrote out her thoughts, her fears, and her prayers. For the first time in weeks, the chaos in her mind began to settle. She realized she didn't have to figure out her entire future in one moment. By trusting God and taking small logical steps, she could move forward with faith and clarity. In the weeks that followed, Sarah began to act. She prayed daily, sought wise counsel, and broke her big decision into manageable steps. And just as Emily had promised, the confusion lifted, replaced by a quiet assurance that she was on the right path, a path illuminated by both God's wisdom and the clarity science provided. Sarah's story reminds us that confusion doesn't have to define us. With faith in God and a practical approach rooted in logic, even the noisiest minds can find peace and direction.